we're going to begin the meeting March 14th at 5:04. In keeping with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, as amended by Governor Baker on February 12, 2022, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count toward quorum. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded on ECAT. To use Zoom, you will need to use the link on the agenda or download the Zoom application at www.zoom.us and create an account or use one of the call-in numbers listed on the agenda. You will need the webinar ID to join by phone only. While conducting meetings remotely, we will endeavor to keep meeting operations as close to our standard procedures as possible. However, use of this platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocols. One, while the board members or commissioners and applicants will be on video and audio, public participants will join the webinar as attendee, meaning they are muted and with no video feed from them. Two, during the public testimony portion of the meeting, members of the public can be recognized by using the raise hand function found under participants from Zoom, or make a request with the Q&A function. If you're joining only by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. If an applicant wishes to display materials, please make the request of the chair and the email materials to board staff for sharing on screen. When starting testimony, please state your name and address for the record. 3, there is a markup function in Zoom which will allow you to call out specific areas of presentation materials. 4, as in any public meeting, indecent behavior will not be tolerated, and anyone who abuses use of the meeting platform will be terminated from the meeting. 5, business will be handled at times indicated on the agenda. Businesses not concluded in the allotted time will be tabled to the end of the meeting to allow for timely logins and remote attendance. 6, board members are asked to announce themselves when making a motion in seconds so it'll be clear to the audience and minute takers who made motions. All voters will be by roll call. And lastly, when all business indicated on the agenda has been completed, the members will vote to adjourn the meeting, signaling the end of the meeting and the termination of the ECAT recording. All participants will be disconnected from the webinar at that time. So, Kristen, has it improved any? Do we have a plan? Yeah. You're muted.
Now I'm Tim.
There you go. So let me just pull up the agenda again. Okay, the first thing. Oh, it just bumped me off. Can you guys still see and hear me? Yes. So while I pull up the agenda again, what is the first thing on the agenda?
So there are no variances. So the first action item is the coronavirus update, which is definitely looking positive. We have continued to see a decline in cases in town. I think last week for the reporting for the week prior was 10 cases, which is wonderful. We can definitely handle that. There's not much else. The state's down to the few restrictions, or at least advice that people wear masks. People who are unvaccinated wear masks indoors. But other than that, we are enjoying seeing a little bit of a calm right now. That's all I have on COVID.
Okay.
Gladly.
Yeah, I know. The next thing we have on the agenda is the agorovirus, ticks and mosquitoes. Anything on that stuff?
Nothing really new. There's still the Mosquito Control Advisory Task Force is still looking at some recommendations that were made that could significantly change how we approach applying the different chemicals and notifications and things like that, but it's all still in the comment period.
Okay. Third, the vote to recommend the intermunicipal agreement, a collaboration between the towns of Easton, Foxborough, Mansfield, Norton, Plainville, and Sharon.
Yep, so we have been talking about this for months, that we were fortunate enough to be recipients of a shared services grant along with these other towns that would allow us to have a shared food inspector, housing inspector, and Mark, this doesn't cover the epi position, does it? Or it does?
I'm not sure. I don't know if there's two IA agreements or just the one.
So you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's gonna reverb pretty bad. I believe this collaborative agreement would just be for the food inspector and the housing inspector. And I thought there was a separate one, but I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that for the epidemiologist.
I thought when I read through it, it did mention something about an epi. Did you guys read through it?
I believe they did end up combining it into one agreement, but there's two lead agencies. One is going to have a couple people on their staff and the other is going to have the epi on staff, physically housed and run through their payroll and all of that. What we're looking for, the select board has already voted to enter into the agreement. We're just looking for a concurrent vote from the Board of Health recommending and approving this agreement. As part of that, the next agenda item on there is, if you go to page, I think it's item 5. Yep, item 5 in the agreement talks about an advisory board that needs to convene at least not less than quarterly, that has representation by each of the towns, that will meet on a regular basis, at least quarterly, develop the annual long-term goals for the collaborative, advise the collaborative on staff priorities, what we want them working on, and adopt policies, recommendations, review the performance and how the inspectors are doing, make any adjustments that are necessary. So once you vote to recommend the intermunicipal agreement, we will have to collect a signature from one of you, but we'll get it over. And I think we may be the last town that they're waiting for. And then we would be looking for you guys to designate representation. It can be one of you, but it can also be your designees. So I would make the recommendation that because it is going to be kind of hands-on with the other health directors and whatnot, that you recommend me as the primary and Mark as the secondary.
Do any of the Board of Health members need any clarifying information after reading the document or have anything they want to say?
I think Mark had something he wanted to add.
I just wanted to add that the housing and the food inspector would be housed in Foxborough and the epi would be housed in Mansfield. So that's where they'd be working out of, and they would work with all 6 collaborative towns.
Are we ready to make a motion? I'll make a motion to recommend the intermunicipal agreement, a collaboration between the towns of Easton, Foxborough, Mansfield, Norton, Plainville, and Sharon.
Second.
All those in favor?
Zias, yes.
Mills, yes.
LeBlanc, yes. So now to vote to designate a representative for the intermunicipal agreement.
The other towns, do they have their Board of Health members as representatives, or are they doing their directors and so forth? Their representatives, Kristen, do you know?
I don't know. Mark, have you heard anything? I kind of got the impression that it was going to be staff, but
That's the impression I got as well. So at least talking to Foxborough and Mansfield, that they're going to be running, the agent and the director will be running the person, and they'll have a second person to help do training and whatnot.
And they're the ones that are actually like heading this up, I read, right? So it's Foxborough first and then Mansfield for some of the responsibilities.
Yes,
Sorry.
the lead person would be Foxborough, Matt over in Foxborough. He's the director. So it's going through their HR department over there, from what I understand, for the housing and food inspector. And the EPI would be through Amy Palmer, the health agent from Mansfield.
Any comments or questions? Anybody want to make a motion on who we're going to designate?
Sure. I will make a motion to designate Kristen Kennedy as a representative for the intermunicipal agreement with Mark Taylor as second.
Second,
All those in favor?
Zayas, yes.
Mills, yes.
LeBlanc, yes. Okay, and then there are no betterments. There is we do need to accept the minutes from February 14th.
Motion to accept minutes from February 14th, 2022.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Zayas, yes.
Mills, yes.
And LeBlanc, yes. And any staff or member notes? No? Nothing else, guys? Okay, let's make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 5:60. Well, is there any questions and answers? Any questions in our little question and answer thing? No. So I make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 5:16 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Zayas, yes.
Mills, yes.
LeBlanc, yes. All right, thanks, guys. Have a good week.
2.
Have a good one.
You too.
That might be a new record.